That's called church. That symbol is church. Right? Now, if you've seen this, excuse my drawing because I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. Right? That's church. Now, a grand sheik or priest or mason or PhD or doctor of divinity all already know this when they get their degrees. They may not show this to their public. Do you understand? They'll pick a different section of it, and that's what they promote. That keeps the schism going on. That keeps the flock under control. We're different. Our God is better than yours. He makes better peanut butter sandwiches. And this one is saying, our God we get soda with our sandwiches. And they don't even know. If you ask them the science behind it, they couldn't give you even the beginning of the science. Do you understand? Now let me give you something. Like say, in the book, say Revelation 21:22, right? It'll give you the code. 3 in the south, 3 in the north, 3 in the east, and 3 in the west. The 3 gates. These are called the gates. And so you have 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here. And this is why you see even the cinquefoil windows that they have in the older churches, they will imitate mathematically geometric formation of the great circle. And you see some of the windows, they'll have a seal at the top, seal at the bottom. Now, when you master the degrees, right, this same church becomes, excuse me again, then it becomes a nimbus. And the nimbus, when you have mastered all the degrees, then symbolically the nimbus is made as a golden crown that's put above your head. Well, like you see older pictures of Yeshua, they're called Jesus, you'll see the nimbus. And a lot of times they'll dress it up real fancy, but if you pay attention to it, you'll see that there's a gate at the top, gate at both sides, whether it's designed or whether it's open. And then the bottom gate is laying on the medulla.
Called the halo, right?
And that means the Son of God. S-U-N. And so when you see the 4 gates, you also, so write this down so you can reference it. So you look in Septuaginta or Bible, closing out of the Old Testament, it only has 4 chapters, 4 gates. Then it closes out and it says, the Son of Righteousness arises with healing in his wings. And they spell it correctly, S-U-N, not S-O-N. Because they're telling you the Kabbalistic origin, but they know these people can't read. So I'm just giving you keys so that you can understand there's a difference between scholars going through these books and believers. Scholars get the science. Do you understand? And they control the masses by promoting beliefs. Beliefs are for children, rabbits, and people who can't handle reality. Faith is for teenagers, and fruition is for adults. And most of the masses never even heard of the fruition degree. But everybody who's a bishop, a reverend, an LLD, chief, grand chief, Knight of Malta, Knight of Columbus, Kyplos, Union Guard, White Camellia, Illuminati, Ku Klux Klan, all of these Gnostics got the fruition degree. That's how you get your PhD. And all the masses know about is belief and faith. That's all they ever heard. They don't even know there's a fruition degree. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That's where you get the masters. And so you see ritually from ancient Africa, ancient Yucatan, even to today, in the chamber rituals for whether people belong to secret societies or whether they're in the priesthood. They raise them at an altar made with 7 rare woods, the most expensive ones that are protected. 7 rare woods dressed with jewels, and they have 3 candlesticks around it. And they'll have a Bible open to the book of Ecclesiastics, or they have a Quran or Wasi open up, and they raise them with degrees. And the first candle is belief, and then the light, when it lights, its reflection is neophyte or beginner. Second candle is faith, Islam, brother. Its reflection is scholar. And the third candle is fruition, its reflection is master. That's where all of the priesthood get their degrees. And the believers don't even know that exists, but yet it's in their face. You know, and so when you begin to kind of understand these things, you kind of understand the symbolic meaning of the debates that Yeshua had with the priesthood when his mother was looking for him and he was down priesthood. And the priest, she said, "Oh, we was worried about you. We couldn't find you." And they asked the guards, "Have you seen this little boy about 12 years old?" They said, "Oh yeah, that's that little boy. He's down there disputing with the doctors of the law." It was doctrine of the law. They was talking about Yahushua when he was just 12 years old. When he was 12 years old, he was busting high priest. And it was doctrine of the law. And it's them priesthood who sold him out. That's why they lock out all of his history too. He's around 33. You know, if you pay attention to the books and you learn about Yahushua, and they'll call him, the code is Jesus, right? 12 years old, right? And he started his mission, and all of the in-between, they cut out all the history until he's 33 when they assassinate him. And you know, people don't even notice that, but they're going to tell you about this Jesus that they got a special personal relationship. They don't even know the damn history. They're hypocrites and they're liars. Do you understand what I'm saying? However, when you get a bunch of hypocrites and liars together, they feel comfortable about themselves. Well, it's true. And they sing beautifully. I love gospel. They can sing. But they
can
them to
sing.
begging songs.
They can sing.
They used to be songs that preserved the culture. That's because gospel really is the good spell
news.
To kill the bad spell. It was when our people was trying to preserve the culture, and they would sing it to hide it from the Romans because they would kill people and lynch them and cut babies out of the wombs of women and all that kind of stuff to intimidate the people. So now they're attributed to the church when actually gospel came into the church. It didn't begin in the church. People don't even know your own culture. But anyway, and the 3 gates you'll see in the book of Revelation. 3 gates in the north, 3 gates in the south, 3 gates in the east, 3 gates in the west. And those are your 12 decibels. And each one of these are broken down into 3 sections of the 3, and they will be broken into 10 degrees. And each one of those degrees around, this will be 90, 90, 90, 90, 360. And each one of these degrees are called deaconates. This is where you get deacon from the church from. And all of these points are called cardinal points. That's where you get cardinal from the church. It's cosmogony, but they'll deny it across the pulpit. Because that's where the power is, the knowledge. You understand? So, if you deal with someone you're having problems with, just study the culture, and you can teach anyone. You pull them out by telling them what they think they know. See, they think you're giving them something different, but you're holding them to their own plane. Like, for instance, like me and Sandy was talking on the way up, right? So you pick me up, like I'm a house doctor too. Well, anything wrong with how to build a house from the ground up, like home, electric, plumbing, concrete, doesn't matter, brick, block, roof, design, alter, modify, custom cabinets, tufting, doesn't matter. If it's an art and skill concerning houses, I do it. You understand? Now, if you sit here and you tell me you're a contractor and a car run through this building right there, and we slowed down for a minute, but this weekend we put this back together. And you say you're a carpenter, then I'm talking about plumbing this thing up, making sure, you know, where this is sitting on a foundation, that it's anchored, etc. And then you start getting confused, and either you ain't who you said you are, or you're not qualified.
Exactly.
Likewise, if somebody gonna tell you about that Bible and don't know nothing about Septuaginta, they really do, but ain't admitting it to you, another scholar knows that that person is an opportunist and a liar. Although they wouldn't sit up and argue with the believers because they already know the believers will come to that person's defense. You understand? But any scholar knows that Septuaginta is the first Bibles. And 99% of these people that claim to be Christians never even saw the book. There's more have one, but they haven't got Bible studies and everything. They're full of crap. You know, but you allow them to have their arrogance, because they're usually arrogant and they're self-righteous. But I'm saying that to say to you, so I've given you enough, so like if you're with family members that you really want to rescue, don't try to convince them of anything. Present them with questions on their own claim. You do the research, it ain't gonna take a short period of time. You need to find it on your phone. It's available anywhere. And then you start seeing that these people that claim to be Christians, number one, really ain't what they think they are. And they're really not justified talking trash they talk about other people. They don't talk a lot of trash about other people. They devils and they don't know the Lord and they're going to hell with handbaskets, all kind of stuff. And here they are worshiping Constantine, pretending to love Jesus, which is a password that was made up 325 AD by the priesthood who was altering the books for personal and political purposes. And that is known by all scholars. And every reverend, and every bishop, everybody that claim to be Christian. And it ain't nothing wrong with Christianity, because that belongs to us too. But you're actually talking the Kabbalistic science. Are we clear? So, whereas, like in another way to find out whether somebody really have knowledge or whether they're full of crap. Say, anointing my head with oil, right? And say, that is in truth the activation of what gland? Just put that question out. And if they don't answer you, conversation's over, that person's disqualified, they're full of shit. Because it's activation of the pineal gland. You understand? But the books are anthropomorphic in their general dispensation, but that's for children. That's anthropomorphic. You know, just like, for instance, you want to teach children certain things, and so like, because the Bibles are Kabbalistic and they're cosmological. So to teach the children about the heavens, you'll say the three wise men follow the stars, and then you'll say Santa Claus. Now, the priests know that Santa Claus is actually the Big Dipper. So then you can put the star charts in the ephemerides for the major stars that's in the Big Dipper and its relationship on the earth, etc. Because even the earth and the architecture on earth is laid out by what is called metrology. So even cities are laid out according to the stars. And this is the real truth, you know. So when you become an adult, you deal with the cosmos science. When you're a child, it's anthropomorphic. So no different than they give little children Elmo, you know, with eyes and it talks like a human. That's called anthropomorphic. Santa Claus, anthropomorphic. Jesus, the imagery, anthropomorphic. You understand? When actually Jesus comes from Ios, etc., is the sun in the sky, and the transits of the sun in the sky. Mathematically charted. As an example, and this is where Rahm Emanuel did the letter telling the truth about the history. December 21st, winter solstice. And that's called solstice, which means sun stands still. And you'll still even see it on calendars, but people don't know what they're looking at. Preacher ain't gonna tell them. Then the sun seems to stay still 3 days, and then it starts its ascension again. And this is where Jesus ascends from the tomb after being in the tomb 3 days. That's anthropomorphic for children. But for the adult, they understand it's an ephemerides chart of the heavens. And all priests know that. All reverends know that. All masons know that. That's why you go into the chambers. You go into any Masonic chamber or any school that teach divinity, you go in the doorway and you see the zodiac signs and the symbols in the doorway. That's earth culture. So that's what anthropomorphic is, so you understand quickly. So the deal of it is, once I'm giving you enough keys so you can do a little bit of research. You don't even need to do deep research. Do a little bit of research. You'll be surprised what you find out, but it'll qualify you to correct anyone that tries to BS you and get $5 and tell you that God is good and the roof was leaking and he made that 10. Don't want to hear no jingle anymore. Don't fall for it. But any reverend, with all due respect, don't believe what they're telling people themselves. So they perfect the art of delivery. Do you understand? So that plays on people's emotions because people think the emotionalism is spirituality. When the reverend, the priest, sheep, knights all know that spirit is breath. And spirituality is a training that you're given in philosophies or breathing techniques to prepare yourself to receive Kabbalistic and Gnostic philosophies which constitutes the religion. Now I just told you the absolute truth. How many people you tell that they start talking about you got a devil? And yet Reverend Jones got his degree on just what I just told you. Because that's a fact, and it's universal, whether you're in China, here, anywhere on the planet. Whether you're in a mosque with an imam, rabbi in a synagogue, or church with bishops and reverends. In secret, they all got the same knowledge. They create the divisions for control purposes. But like when they're amongst each other, that's why you see, no different than you see the judges and lawyers, they're talking stuff in the court. Now they take somebody's money, their children going to private school together and they playing golf and drinking. And our people don't even get it yet. They just believe, they don't deal with no facts. Then they always screwed, of course the devil did it, now the devil's a scapegoat. And he's used as a scapegoat. But anyway, let's get through the chase. I just wanted to make that point to you.
Yeah.
Now, these are a picture of some brothers from the East. These are some brothers from the East. Notice that they got Noble Drawley's picture up there? They recognize him on the East side when they don't even recognize here. We're from the very people whose bloodline he came to rescue. But I think a lot of times when people look at the prophet, they spend too much time, worshiping the prophet rather than paying attention to what he told us.
Right.
Do you understand? One of the things that I see all the time is our people need to get out of this worshipful mentality and start dealing with the message. You understand? Because it is the word that's more important. Do you understand? Because that's why they come. Because mothers prepare them. Mothers never leave humanity without guidance, no matter what generation. That's how nature works. That's how she preserves life. So there's always women who born what you call champions. And mostly they're males, not because women don't do it, because woman actually projects herself out through her sons. Do you understand? Woman is sort of like in nature. Let's talk nature. When you look at a beehive, because that's really the real Kabbalistic story of the birds and the bees. The birds represent height, spirituality. The bee represents the regeneration process and the matriarchal nature of life on Earth plane. And so in the beehive, you don't see a king's chair. It's only a queen. And what does it reflect in nature? All eggs are females. All eggs are female. Women will choose certain eggs in their womb. This is all the species of life on Earth. And will take some of them, a minority of them, and project an energy. That's why they call the miracle of the sun birth, or the birth of the sun is always referred to a miracle, because the woman actually takes one of her daughters and makes a mate for another woman's daughter. That's why the term widow is always given to woman, because she only mates with another woman's son. That's why man is called the widow's son. We're talking truth. We're not talking about what people think. So when you're dealing with priesthood and scientists, they deal with actual workings of nature, not the political engineering, which is totally different, and which actually goes against nature. But this creates schism and mind control, and the priesthood are able to extract from them. Do you understand? This is where Jesus talks about them, stealing widows' pennies. The symbol of the story, where the priesthood is really dirty. The devil gets blamed is really the priesthood. That's the real ultimate story. Like say you can take a child and take them to a Septuaginta or Bible and talk about the assassination. You say it like it is instead of, they march Jesus to Calvary, so they say the assassination of Jesus in a way they can understand. And tell a child to do a book report with no belief system, just a book report. And the child will see that the priesthood did this. And then the adult saying that the devil did it. Because the child is honest. And then the adult will mess their head up. Say, that ain't what it is, that ain't what it is. And the child see this, the priesthood. And they was really working with the Romans. They was having secret meetings. And they was jealous of him. Romans were threatened because he was schooling the common people. See, because the priesthood kept the knowledge to themselves. That's how they controlled everybody. Then Yeshua came to them and said, stop lying. Tell the people the truth. He gave them an opportunity to tell the truth. And then when they would not tell the truth, he knocked the dust off his heels and then went to the people directly and started telling them the truth. And then they plotted his assassination. And ever since then, who got blamed for it? The devil. Who did it? The priesthood and the Romans. It is no different than now. Islam says. It is no different than now that you see that people are starting to wake up. They're blaming everything on aliens and the grays and the lizards, the shapeshifters, everybody else did it to you. They didn't steal your bike. The IRS took all your stuff to grandma's house and let them. They ain't gonna do it. Get your eyes off of them. Same thing. You understand? But now let's go to first. We're going to let's see here. I'm going to go King Albert, then we're going to go to the Budwig cancer cure. Did I give you one? You have one? Yeah. Make sure they. Now, I want to go back and I want to read this. This is, how many of you familiar with Executive Order 11490, King Alfred Rex 84, training manual? Well, the training manual, I'm going to pull it back and I'm going to show you the cover. The training manual is what is used by all politicians in the Western world for social engineering and social controls, I'll be clear. But particularly targeted to persons here for both military and political economic conquest. And I'm giving you their own documents so that you can understand that it has nothing to do with what my opinion is or your opinion is. And the mistreatment that our people are given by industrialists, businesses, jobs, things in government subdivisional agencies that they've been calling racism and prejudice is really unum sanctum policy and doctrine of discovery. So to keep you off of what's really happening, they present racism and colors for you to argue when that's really a diversion. All right? So from amongst their own to train their own on how to administer government, including city council people and stuff like that, this is what they have in their chambers. This is why our communities always get shortchanged. Are we clear? All right, so first, let's go back and so you can look at cover. So I'm going to close this and then open it back up so you can see the cover. I have to cover in another section, but anyway, I'm going to go into this now. And this is King Alfred, and what you see here, let me pull this up. And this was researched and preserved military operations from the Second World War, when they were killing off some other people that was claiming to be somebody that they're not. All the technology, the mind control, the biological warfare technology that they learned from that, they preserved it in military operations and have turned it on our people in North America called minorities. And so a lot of the problems that we're suffering from massive foreclosures and them gentrifying our communities, the biological warfare, the thing they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the thing they did in Philadelphia, the thing they did in Greenwich, North Carolina, the Tuskegee stuff, the syphilis experiments, sterilizing sisters at 12 and 13 who had colds thinking that they were just going to the hospital with regular stuff. The introduction of cancer in our community that's rampant. now all this stuff is actually came out. Islam. Now, this executive order was authorized October of 1969 to counteract the minority, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites in their rise from up under the Depression and powers that be. King Alfred. Yes, yes, and Rex 84. And it's called Technical Manual. It is 7, hold on, I'll show you. So I want you to see what its source is. And so if you want to write this down, now what has occurred as people are starting to wake up, they start pulling it off the internet or blocking it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, about it, yes. Like, say years ago when the internet first started, you could get some of the information and also some of the stuff that we shared with people. And it was out there for a minute, and as people start waking up, they start blocking it, or like putting virus seeds on them, that when people open up, it would crash their computer.
So if somebody try to post that,
Yeah, yeah, well,
virus right away.
yes. Anyway, so this is King Alfred, Rex 84, but I'm gonna go, says Technical Manual, SW 7905.1, Technical Manual Operations Research. It's an introductory programming manual, all right? So all Europeans and industrialists have this, and this is part of their political guidance manual. Do you understand? This is basically top secret, not exposed to the public. The guy who pulled this off the computer, they put him in prison. And I don't think anybody heard of him since then. It's actually a European. Got off one of them government computers that they sell in Arizona, where they have the planes and stuff. When they'll decommission planes, they still fly, but to keep the industrial complex working, they'll build planes, run for a year or so, and park them out in the desert so they can build more planes. And they would wipe computers and servers and stuff that. But you know, some hackers know how to go. Well, this is how this got out. But anyway, so this is basically top secret. It's not for the general public, if you get the point. But it'll give you an overview on how they're looking at you. You won't be talking that they're gracious and prejudiced. You understand that they're dealing with military operations. See, so the deal of it is basically, this is basically where we're talking anyway. Our people are naive when it comes to the real politics. These people are actually living off your virtues. But if they can have you thinking that they just don't like your complexion, you know, you're busy trying to convince them to accept you, and they're really stealing your birthright. So you're totally off the issue, which makes you incompetent. Also, you don't solve anything. So every once in a while they'll throw you a cookie and you think you're making progress. When the real deal is that they got a bond on you. At 55 Water Street. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And there's another reason why the Europeans put their family names on us, because anything that we bought or sold, Smith, Jones, and Johnson, those names, is state property. You understand? That's what the brand's function is. Understand? We know grammatically and historically it's incorrect. What is its function? That's what you need to understand. Its function is that no matter how many generations that pass, buying and selling with the mark or the number of that name is state property. This is why people, you know, that are branded black, if you notice the patterns, we never develop what you call old money. And all of you see how many men that you know and women that you know, writers, singers, actors, etc., always go to the grave broke, yet they made millions. And the Inquisition, revenue services come and take all of their estate. And if their children, if they have children where there's an inheritance, they tax them so heavily that they have to walk away from it. Do you understand? But you need to understand what it is. Now that's the Christian black codes. But the function, you need to know the function, is what the branding is and why, what it serves. You know, and so these facts, these real facts, is where so-called black leaders are paid not to go there. So they'll start that testimonial stuff. You know, I know you catching hell, but just pray. Give me $5 while you're at it. And then one of these days, the Lord's going to come and give you 2 peanut butter sandwiches. You give me 5 now, but you know, they start that stuff. And it works, and you know, so that's pacify people getting their asses kicked. And that's their job, they're overseers. But anyway, so let's go to the technical manual. Islam.
Islam, beloved, Islam.
Islam.
So let's go to now I want you to pay attention to this, and we'll pull this up a little bit so we can all read this. And then we're going to go into, make sure they get one of the flyers.
Yes.
Sandy. Now pay attention to this, because you have to understand that this is the politics. Are we clear? See, so once you understand the real politics, no matter how they're talking to you, you know what their motive, what it's called modus operandi really is. Why they block you in different ways. By certain things in industry and in business, you get no support or you get resistance. This is what it is. It ain't racism, it's not prejudice. It's unum sanctum, doctrine of discovery, i.e. King Alfred, biological warfare. Are we clear? So let's just read this and then we're going to go into cancer cure, right?
Yeah.
National Security Council. So you can see this is at the highest levels of executive government that these things are discussed. Even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord had become very nearly a part of the American way of life. But that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, that unrest and discord have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire jeopardy. This violence has resulted in loss of life, limb, and property, and has cost the taxpayers of this nation billions of dollars. And the end is not yet in sight. The same violence has raised a tremendously grave question as to whether the races can ever live in peace with each other. Each passing month has brought new intelligence that despite new laws passed to alleviate the condition of the minority still is not satisfied. Demonstrations and rioting have become a part of the familiar scene. Troops have been called out in city after city across the land, and our image as world leaders severely damaged. Our enemies press closer, seeking the advantage, possibly at a time during one of these outbreaks of violence. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain its objectives, which are not clear to most Americans. It is expected, therefore, that when those objectives are denied the minority, racial war must be considered inevitable. When that emergency comes, we must expect the total involvement of all 22 million members of the minority, men, women, and children. For once this project is launched, its goal is to terminate, once and for all, the minority threat to the whole American society and indeed the free world. Chairman, National Security Council. So you see the opinion that they actually have of our people, and that what you've been told has not to do with racism and prejudice. It's a military operation.
Islam.
And now you understand why when they need organs or anything, or melanin, or the wealthy, they will kill your babies and kill young men and women on the street for what appears to be no reason, when actually they were sent to what you call harvest. That's the real politics, not what you think. You understand? So when you don't understand this, you're thinking, how come the government do this and how come the police can do that so blatantly with cameras and stuff and nothing happens? It's a military operation. But the passivity is people believing that they're really the legitimate government, which was actually overthrown in 1861, March the 22nd. 27. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So these are the real histories. Do you understand? And so logically, the masses' concepts of what they think is history and what they think is politics is really not what it is and not what it ever was. Do you understand? But they're taught a party line, and so the most comforting zone for controlling people is have what you would call priesthood or religious leaders get up and teach them things or tell them things. Go ahead, sign in, get one of those flyers.
You ran
Get one of
out.
those flyers. Get those flyers.
You ran out.
You ran out? I got a couple more.
All right.
And I did bring my printer up, sorry.
It's mine. So understand this is a programming manual. So Europeans are programmed. See, but like if the people understood how the pseudo government actually operates, then it's obvious that it's conspiracy. So as soon as somebody gets a little bit of consciousness, oh, that's conspiracy theory, when it actually is fact. But they know that the masses aren't privy to this information. You know what I mean? So let's go to 36. Hold on. Back this up a little bit. Now, this is economic research. Now, I'm going to start maybe at 30. Let's look at the security page so that you can understand also the politics, and then we're going to go into the cancer cure thing. Security. It is patently impossible to discuss social engineering. So you got to know social engineering. See, so if you're sitting around talking about colors and racism, you're not dealing with what's really happening. That's why that's put into the community, and so-called leader guys are promoted to start talking about colors and light skin, dark skin. They don't appreciate my color, and we being this, and let us pray and let us march. And one of these days, when it's really social engineering, and they know it is. Are we clear? And that's what happened to Martin when he started talking about the Great Seal, because that was a signal to the Don that he's going to tell. That's why if you pay attention to his speech, it sounds prophetic, because he already knew once you step off, you're done. There is no retraction. That's why he said, tonight I'm not fearing any man. I love life. Longevity has its place. But I've been to the mountaintop, that's the Great Seal. And I've seen the promised land, that's the eye of Allah that you see at the top of the seal. Mm-hmm. And the promised land is the land there. I might not get there with you, but we as a people will make it to the promised land. That's a Masonic preserved secret. So, but that was a threat, because he already was given a signal that he was no longer useful, which he knows neutrality comes after that. You understand? You gotta remember Jesse and all them was Masons too. That's why they stepped to the side.
Yes, they did.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they
Right.
did.
Clear shot.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But I mean, when you understand the real politics, none of this stuff, meaning you don't see, you see things that the masses who are under belief systems don't see. It'd be right in their face and they can't see. They'll swear that the brown stuff, creamy stuff on the lawn is peanut butter. Somebody's walking their dog. I'm serious, and you can't tell them anything. So this is their own documents, military operations, right? So you can understand when the Europeans are dealing with you, they're dealing from this perspective. Logically, they're not going to have this discussion with you openly. Nor are there black leaders who are paid off with their 501c3 skull and bones agreement get into subject matter like this to let you know that they're living off your virtues. They don't like your color, so you got to convince them that you're somebody, that kind of conversation keeps you busy. then you're back to paying your taxes to these foreigners on your own land next week and praying on that type of stuff. Meanwhile, in secret, they got a Moorish fez with the tassel pinned down. You understand? Their certificate, because they get a certificate 32 degrees, it says what? Assalamu alaikum. And then you get a holy name. So they already know what's up. Why do you think people who come from other nations don't respect so-called black people? Because they know we're the biggest hypocrites the world has ever known. And like Hitler told Churchill, you take them stovepipes out the war, we'll kick your asses. That was a code word for the Moorish. The Moorish is the Moors, these people who think they black. They let them put them brothers in there, in that war, and they start knocking them planes down and every daggone thing else. And they weren't even allowed to fly and stuff, but them brothers got up there and was raising crap. And Hitler told Churchill, you take them stovepipes out of the war, we'll kick your asses. He's talking about these very Moors who think they black, that keep on fighting all the wars for this European against their own people.
Yep.
Anyway, let's go through this and then we're going to go into cancer cure. Now, it is patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of a society, i.e. engineering of social automation systems, silent weapons, on a national or worldwide scale without implying extensive objectives of social controls and destruction of human life, i.e. slavery and genocide. Keep that in mind. So keep the military complex and the pharmaceutical complex in mind, that they're working together. Are we clear? This manual is in itself an analog declaration of intent. Such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny, otherwise it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. Furthermore, whenever any person or group of persons in a position of great power and without the full knowledge and consent of the public uses such knowledge and methodology for economic conquest, it must be understood that a state of domestic warfare exists between said persons or group of persons and the public. The solution to today's problems requires an approach which is ruthlessly candid, with no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. So when you see them playing at a religious game and all that kind of stuff, play on people's emotion, they don't take none of that serious. That's for the public to keep you passive while they rape you, with the help of your Negro leader guys to keep you passive when you should be active. But if you don't know this is going on, you take a passive position. And you think that they're legitimate government when actually they're imposters. Are we clear?
Clear.
So today's solution of today's problems requires an approach which is ruthlessly candid, with no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. You have qualified for this project because of your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity, and yet analyze and discuss your observations and conclusions with others of similar intellectual capacity without a loss of discretion or humility. Such virtues are exercised in your own best interest. Do not deviate from them. Welcome aboard. This publication marks the 25th anniversary of the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted using subjective biological warfare, fought with silent weapons. This book contains an introductory description of this war, its strategies, and its weaponry. May 1979, number 74-1120. This is the manual amongst, aside from the Christian Black codes and the Negro Acts and the IRS codes that is used to keep our people under control and also to destroy our families politically and economically, which means 90% of the households will not have a man. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And then with the Christian Black codes, they put men and women against each other so that destabilizes the family also. Now, so the people don't suspect that they're being attacked from people who are actually in government, but are in fact not government. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now let's go to, now understand the biological warfare, right? Now, so as you already know, Historical introduction. Silent weapon technology has evolved from operations research, OR, a strategic and tactical methodology developed under the military management in England during World War II. The original purpose of operations research was to study the strategic and tactical problems of air and land defense with the objective of effective use of limited military resources against foreign enemies, i.e. logistics. It was soon recognized by those in positions of power that the same methods might be useful for totally controlling a society, but better tools were necessary. So I want you to see how they're thinking and how they're actually operating, because you can see that's how things operate. But at the same time, you don't have to be subject to, beliefs or, your so-called black leader guys talking about they don't understand your color and stuff, when actually that's a diversion. But this is actually what's going on. Islam. Say it again?
No.
Yes. All right. But I want to get past this a little bit and just go to some other portions to give you concept, and particularly this page. These last two pages, and then we'll go into the cancer cure, so you can understand why almost every 2 people out of 3 now have cancer in them if they're not fallen by it. It's biological introduced. This is another reason why I'm giving you this, because this is only one of many, and this has always been known. What you get when you come through the door, that little flyer, that's Dr. Budwick. All right. Now, a descriptive introduction of the silent weapon. So I want you to see how they even think about people who think and the masses who don't think. All right? Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. It shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of chemical reaction, explosion, originating from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder, from a computer instead of a gun, operated by a computer programmer instead of a marksman, under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. It makes no obvious explosive noises, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet it makes an unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with daily social life, i.e. unmistakable to a trained observer, one who knows what to look for. The public cannot comprehend this weapon and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon. The public might instinctively feel that something is wrong, and you know they do, but because of the technical nature of the silent weapon, they cannot express their feelings in a rational way or handle the problems with intelligence. Therefore, they do not know how to cry for help and do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against it. See the dynamics of you sitting here in the discussion we had earlier? They don't even know they've been attacked. And you deal with facts and they think you're going against their gods and everything, and it's military operations. And them ignoring this doesn't remove them from it, it makes them easier victims. When a silent weapon, When a silent weapon is applied gradually to the public adjusts, adopts to its presence, and learns to tolerate its encroachment on their lives until the pressure, psychological via economic, becomes too great and they crack up. And you see, that's like you can sit in any of these cities Like you can go in a restaurant or just sit somewhere, watch your window and watch our people pass by and watch the generational breaks. And you'll see, you can almost tell now without conversations that most of our people are spiritually broken and they have mental handicaps, minor to extreme. And you'll see them younger and younger walking with canes because they're attacking the biological. That used to be extreme aged people. And our people used to be, what, up to 100 and 102 still in the garden. And our people don't catch on yet. This is back to the herbs, your grandma and stuff. All right. So, the silent weapon is applied gradually to the public, and the public just adopts to its presence and learns to tolerate its encroachment on their lives until the pressure, psychological via economic, becomes too great, and they crack up. This also creates strokes and stress. You understand? Kidney failure and a whole bunch of stuff like that just by simply test on human stresses through economic pressures, etc. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, options, and mobility of the individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, and attacking their sources of natural and social energy, and their physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weaknesses. So now, so you can understand that these sicknesses that occur in our community is not and are not incidental nor accidental. Are we clear?
Clear.
So, we're going to go into the Buddha cure as an example. Now, fact, a long known truth and cancer cure. Dr. Joanna Budwig, right? She was nominated 6 times for the Nobel Prize in Medicine. How come that's not common knowledge? You already know why. We don't need to tell you. Meaning that you're looking at this not with a naive mind. Do you understand? All right. Nominated 6 times for the Nobel Prize in Medicine, cured 90% of her cancer patients. 90%. Died at age 95 in 2003. Budwig protocol. This protocol should be followed for over 6 months. Now keep in mind, in this protocol, she's not discussing, say, the controversy of the military complex. So I just gave it to you. So you can understand that these things are not natural, that people are now assuming are natural sicknesses, circumstantial. Not knowing that actually biological warfare has been instituted on our people officially. Third World War, and it's quiet. Here our people talk about the Third World War possible. Third World War was 25 years before 1969 when this document was released amongst Privy Council. It was already instituted 25 years prior. So our people don't even know the politics. Are we clear?
Yeah.
And see, so then when they're looking at all these sicknesses and them broken families and them gentrifying our communities, they don't know this is a military operation. They're sitting around talking about, well, whatever color you are, we all Americans, and let us march and pray, and not knowing that those persons that carry that party line are COINTELPRO. That's why it's important for belief systems to be protected, because people in belief degrees are naive as hell. And so you don't have the resistance.
Right.
And then what they do, they sell their own babies out. And then when something occurs, I can't understand how come they did this and that. Because their concept is that these people are legitimate and that they're operating under legitimate government. They're under occupation. And they're being eliminated. Do you understand? So that's not opinion, it's their own document. Do you understand? So when you understand what's really been going on, you understand why China put out 6.5 perfected assassins a couple of years ago and is ongoing right now to counter European colonial operations, since the so-called black leaders here pretty much betrayed Drew Ali. Now you see why I showed you the picture with the brothers in the East showing Drew Ali's picture? Do you understand? That's in the East. And most of these people here think that he's just some kind of religious guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he came to restore the estate. And we're playing around. Meanwhile, the Europeans exterminating our people. And they think they just happen to be sick. And their sisters and cousins just happen to have cancer. Do you understand? All right. So let's go through this protocol, all right? Which I stopped and got some copies so that you can share this with your family, share this with others. All right, so I want you to pay attention to that first part, 90% cure rate, right?
Yeah.
She's nominated 6 times for Nobel Prize in Medicine. So understand that's credible. You understand? But the major thing is because our people believe things so much is that when you give them facts, they actually think this is weird or you're interfering with their peace of mind with this controversial stuff. Yeah.
Especially if it comes from one who looks like them.
Exactly, because that's the black codes. Yeah, all right. So this protocol should be followed for over 6 months. 2.5 teaspoons of flaxseed oil or 5 to 10 flaxseed supplement capsules or 1 to 3 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed. So make sure that you get your little, your little coffee grinder things that grind your seeds. You can use that to grind your seeds too, flax seeds, and you just introduce that into your meals on a regular basis. But what's not in here, so I'm informing all of you, anyway, another point that ancient Asiatics always knew about cancer cures, which is why they're making seedless foods now. All right? If you find some seeds, some grape seeds, take the grape seeds and grind them up. And that's also anti-cancer. All right? Just to let you know. And also include turmeric in all of your major foods. Yes, as a seasoning. Turmeric is one of your best anti-cancer. Because they get you through food. Now, Dr. Budwick is not talking about the biological warfare. She's just telling you, in a sense, where your cancer's coming from. By eliminating it from your diet. Because they're getting you across the table. That's why I showed you King Alfred, so that you can understand it's not accidental, it's deliberate. And I know we all have bad eating habits, myself too included, so let's not go there in any other kind of manner. But when you get sick and you want to knock this stuff out, rather than and this is also how they get rid of nuclear waste. Chemotherapy is actually nuclear waste. It is. So what they do, they have the people pay them and actually kill any estate that they could possibly have for their children, because they exhaust all the finance, then they kill you anyway. Called cancer treatment. It is. But what you must understand is biological warfare. No cure is intentional. They're killing off the people and making you pay for it, the same way they do with the cigarettes. Say it again? The essential oil, oregano wild, yeah. Oil, yes. Essential oils, yes. Huh? Yes, kills viruses. And this is back to the culture what your grandmother used to do.
What I was going to say is I was doing deliveries from a lab. I was doing deliveries from a lab to hospitals and clinics. And when I went to the lab, that's when they told me that the chemicals that they were using for cancer patients was radioactive.
Of course, it's a
Wow.
nuclear waste.
Wow.
But they didn't tell me, the person who's delivering it, until I got there.
No, they
had the job, and they told me that then.
They figure if you're anywhere along the chain, that you knew it anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Because like anything else, it's sort of like, why not talk casual? Just like, for instance, like Sandy's a teacher. right? And she had very, the natural instincts of a mother. When you're dealing with children that are handicapped, and if you approach them from your nature, you don't need training, it comes natural. She was doing things that was actually improving children that was autistic and a whole bunch of stuff. Did you know they got rid of her? And they literally told her, this ain't happening what you're doing, you understand that? I mean, and people keep thinking that these institutions are there to help people. You're naive. If they got a finger in it, it's corrupt. The tough cookie, that's the truth. You know what I mean? It's pressure, but that's still the truth. So either we're going to decide to turn our hearts back to our ancient mothers and fathers, go back to those principles, because the cures are already there. Do you understand? And actually, and they prepare the body to weakness. This is why they're killing the seeds, because where there is no seeds, there is no life.
That's right.
But anyway, let's get past that. And let's finish this out and we'll talk loosely. So, 1 cup of pure quark cheese. You all know how to make quark cheese?
Have you ever heard of it?
You ever heard of quark cheese? It's sort of like, and they said, the quark cheese should not be made with homogenized milk. This is where, like, you take stuff like buttermilk or something like that, and you make the cheese or let it sit for a couple days and stuff like that, and you get the cheese off it. It's rough, but guess what it does? Kill cancer, because it creates a cultivation and it pulls it out. Your body goes into it, and then with the other stuff, it also pulls the toxins out. Although on its own right, it would like create mucus otherwise. But it's sort of like understanding what the body does and what it doesn't do and what has affected the body. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, so the quark cheese should not be made with homogenized milk. Flaxseed oil or ground flax seeds should be stirred using a wooden spoon. See, back to your grandma. So all this is all African, this is all ancient Asiatic African principles. Take at least once a day. The diet. Consume only freshly prepared food. Avoid butter and margarine. Avoid all processed foods. Avoid soft drinks and avoid sugar. No fat bag or lard drippings, etc. So that means pig is out. But you already knew that anyway. The diet should be chemical free. Drink freshly squeezed vegetable juices made from celery, carrots, and red beets. Drink a cup of warm tea 3 times a day. Add grape juice to sweeten the freshly squeezed juices. Avoid commercial mayonnaise toppings and salad dressing. Avoid non-organic and non-range free meats. Avoid pure animal fats. Drink grape juice, peppermint tea, and rosehip tea, and sweeten with natural sweeteners. Avoid artificial sweeteners like high fructose corn syrup. Limit the use of all pharmaceuticals. Avoid tap water, avoid bottled water, and use only fluoride-free products. Avoid cosmetics and sunscreens. Avoid white flour, avoid white bread, avoid white rice, avoid white salt, avoid white sugar, and avoid foods that contain chlorine compounds. All these are bleached with them. You understand? So she's actually telling you where your cancer is coming from too. So if you eliminate that, the cancer simply goes away because you stop feeding it. Yes. So when people are super sick, you understand, even though their eating habits are bad, this beats getting nuclear waste pumped in your veins and breaking your family, don't it?
Right.
You said avoid tap water and bottled water?
Yeah, bottled water, because bottled water is tap water. That's just another way for controlling people and making them spend finance Plus you get PVCs, accepted as
From the
it's
plastic.
allowed
From the
in plastic
plastic.
bottled waters in other countries because it
Yes.
actually gives cancer.
Yes.
And the real deal of it is that people pay more for water than they do for gasoline, and they're actually helping them make them sick because they don't know that the PVCs are in the plastic and leaches into it, and it's designed to give cancer. That's why I went to the military documents so that you can understand that what I'm telling you is not an opinion. Is that these people don't believe that these people are waging war on them. You understand? You got to understand that. But the point, this is being shared with you, so you can do with it what you will. My point is that you've been told. And treating yourself by eating right is far less troubling, far less costly, and much more happy than getting chemotherapy pumped in your veins, was going to kill, guaranteed
Yes.
going to kill your kidneys.
Yes.
And going to kill you too.
Yes.
And then they drain all your family's finances before they kill you. And as soon as your insurance runs out, and as soon as
You're dead.
all your finance runs out, and as soon as they got a lien against your house and all inherited property, then they kill you anyway. Great, good brother.
It's Islam. So when it comes to the water, wouldn't our best remedy would correct me if I'm wrong, would be when Prophet Noah Ali says to boil your drinking water, because he
That's
doesn't
why he
really
said it.
specify. He just says boil your drinking
That's
water.
why he said it, because he already knew. Now listen, when you got the oral statements, Prophet Noah Ali? When you study the oral statements of the Prophet, he prepared us for both the present time and these things to come. Everything that he's told you, you see it now that he prepared you for, including good, including his warning and his statement that he's going to make the European tell you the truth. So the Europeans tell the truth now. But the deal of it is, the subject matter today is, because I've lost many people in my family due to cancer. And I was talking to them, and they sometimes when family close to you, they respect what you're saying and don't listen to it. Anyway, and you watch the misery, the broken families, the economic dispensation is extreme. And then watching the suffering and then knowing that it could be turned around. You know what I mean? But people believe in Rome. They believe Rome. So when you tell them something, yeah, you're right, but, and there's always that but. And their belief is in Rome, and Rome's killing them. And so that's why before I went into this, I went into the military doctrine. So you can understand biological warfare is in effect. Anyway, so avoid white flour again, avoid white bread. And they're all white because they're all white because they're actually bleached. And they bleach them with chlorine bleach. And also, like the Jello and the gelatin stuff, that's made out of animal and human bones. Like when they have amputations and stuff like that, they send the bones and stuff like that to glue factories and to the Jello factories. And also they use the bone breakup to wash sugar in, to bleach with chlorine. So even then they're feeding people back actually humans. And even like the babies, when they have the abortion with the Roe versus Wade, that was actually to create a hamburger source as well as population control. So they're feeding people, their children, back over your fast foods where they get burgers. Any biologist knows that if you did a test on any of the burgers and stuff that people get, that you will find human DNA in it. So they're eating their own babies. And when people keep thinking that these people are honorable on any front, and you give them this information, I can understand, them being uncomfortable because they believe this is the government, and they believe Reverend Jones knows Jesus personally. He got a personal relationship. They have no idea that these people are working together. And so rather than try to convince you, I'll just show you the documents. Show you their own documents. Anyway, this Dr. Budwig is in this protocol simply countering them. by just simply telling you a cure, but what she's really doing is telling you what's killing you
Yes.
without being
Yes.
on the front line
Yes.
and them saying, oh, you trying to do that natural herb stuff, and they kill everybody that does this. You know, Sadie, Dr. Wade, you know, all that stuff, you know, White and all the rest of them. They've been killing what 90% of all your well-known herbal cure doctors. And the same thing like when, you know, they would go to your grandma in secret. You know, but again, we lost that generation because we started believing Reverend Jones, and now we got plastic cards and plastic sickness. Anyway, so avoid fish oil and avoid non-flax sources of omega-3 fatty acids. So get used to flax seeds, or put that in your everyday diet. All right. So avoid table salt and replace it with only high quality unbleached sea salt. And also, not mentioned here, Himalayan salt. All right. Avoid hydrogenated oil. Consume a teaspoon of cold pressed organic coconut oil daily. Avoid soy products and avoid canola oil. Use cold pressed organic flaxseed oil. Supplement with chlorophyll. Use oxygen drinks several times a day. Use some safer alternatives to detergents, bleaches, and common soaps from health food stores. Take vitamin C daily, but take no more than 5 grams daily to prevent stress on the kidneys. Drink green drinks daily. Now you see there's only 2 pages, and she has a 90% cure rate. So what does it tell you? Is the cancer that these people have, is it natural or is it unnatural? Exactly, it's unnatural. And the other thing that they banned, the military complex, because keep in mind the pharmaceutical complex is part of the military complex. So don't get this twisted. Food and Drug Administration is actually a war machine. All right? Yeah, I got it written down there too. All right, close the doors. Oh, all right. All right, it's long. So, understand what this constitutes is actually going back to principles, because what it kind of forces us to do is start making food again, like the family food. Start growing your own food. Start going back to the principles of foods that's been all around you, but are not recognized as food anymore. If you get the point, it's been all around you. And then this is also why the military complex did this chemical for killing dandelions, because
Yes.
that's one of your major food and medicine sources. Do you understand? Your ordinary dandelion. And it's so that people, when they go, like in local to get it, it gives them cancer.
It's called
That's that Roundup that
It's
they
called
use.
Roundup, yes. Yes, it's called Roundup.
And the dandelion pulls out all of the like lead and everything out of the soil. So like if you grow dandelion, like it'll help you make sure that your grass is alkaline and stuff like that, because they got so much chemicals and stuff pumped into that grass. We think that we're doing the right thing, but when we go to test our grass at home that we're growing our stuff in, it's like really, really toxic. So you put that dandelion in and it'll pull all that out.
So keep this in mind. So this, you're gonna have to, go back, and just like Septuaginta said, and the Bible says, and like Drew Ali says, that go back to that state of mind of your ancient mothers and fathers, because that's your cure. And we must relearn those things, like we were talking about earlier, what grandmom used to know, and that generation went silent. But we start calling them spooky, they didn't know Jesus, and all this kind of stuff, and now we're subject to plastic cards, extreme debt, and a whole bunch of other crap, and getting older earlier physically, but not knowing that biological warfare has been and is continued to be waged against us specifically. That's why I took you to Technical Manual 11490 to show you it's documented. So what our people been calling prejudice and racism is really biological warfare. But if they get you, pay your black leaders to run around talk about colors, racism, keep hope alive, you're not paying attention to that it's actually a military operation. But once you understand that it's actually a military operation, and then you understand the politics, you understand why Drew Ali said to the Moors, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. Because the deal of it is, once you do the research in the FBI papers, the history of this movement, history of the politics, contemporary politics at North America, you will see the processes of color of law legislation designed specifically to attack us. And then also for them to breach their obligations to the treaty and the Constitution. And once you understand this, you understand some of the major things that Prophet Raleigh said, like, help me in my great missionary work to bring our people back into the constitutional fold of government. You'll find out about the shell corporations that they created to keep converting your birthright. You'll find out that Raleigh crashed 2 of those United States shells, which has much of the motivation of his assassination. Lincoln crashed 1 of them. And you'll understand the politics currently that's going on right now. Then you'll understand what a proclamation is, why you proclamate, why Duali set up a trust, why the COINTELPRO operators undermined it, suppressed it, why they broke down his press and junked it. A lot of these things that you'll find out when you do serious research will be quite uncomfortable. But what you want not to do is get emotionally involved. What you want to do is convert that into actual functional work. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? In other words, don't get angry, don't get mad, get even. But not with spite, but with love for helping to uplift your own people. Now, what you all know, in these this past 6 or 7 months, we've been going over the shell corporations, what was done since Lincoln's administration, even up to today, to give you a concept of the real politics, not what you thought it was, the real politics. So we go into this today to give you an understanding of the military pharmaceutical complex operations with biological warfare, stress, etc. And our people have no idea that half the sicknesses that we suffer are from the food and stress. The other deal of it is what they've been suppressing is, and I think someone who revealed it, a murderer, I think. But anyway, what they've been doing is taking liquefied vitamin C and intravenously feeding it to cancer patients, and some of them within 8 to 9 days, cancer was gone. So I'm just letting you know so that you can understand why the subject matter, because many of us have lost family members to, and I kind of am reluctant to call it a disease, to the biological warfare. That's called a disease so people can think it's like some kind of virus you catch or something, which it isn't. It's biological warfare. But anyway, in short order, you're given known cure. Do you understand? And it's not complex. So what I did, I stopped at Staples, and we ain't saying to stop at Staples, and I went and got these printed offs so I could share it with you, share it with your family, you know what I mean? And go along that line, and you can pretty much figure out. But a deal now, how many of you listen to the Sabir Bey show?
Yeah.
You're Sabir Bey. And
Correct.
we're having Yeah, and that's super duper Amir. That's not the ordinary Amir. That's the genuine super duper. Stand up for me, Amir. Come on, stand up for me. This is the genuine super duper Amir. Yeah, the baby.
Samir.
But
Sabir.
share with us. Yeah.
Peace, everybody.
Islam.
Everybody's good?
Islam.
All right. I didn't really want to stand up, Taj, but we'll do that for you, Brother Taj. How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
I just came down to... Can you charge it up for me? I just came down because I was in Philadelphia for a while. How many people saw Out of Darkness? If you haven't seen, everybody need to see that documentary. I brought Brother Taj inside the documentary also, and I'm gonna tell you, it's the dopest documentary out. I just got off the phone with we're doing part 2 right now. We have Eddie Griffin's going to be in there. Tom's going to be in there again. We have Eddie Griffin, David Banner, Minister Louis Farrakhan's grandson, Elijah Farrakhan, Hawthorne James. We got a lot of people that's going to be in the second one. And we're going to talk about a lot of other things in this documentary. And it's deep because when I walked in here, and Taj was talking about what was on the screen, about what we need to do. How many people in here, and I know my sister, I'm not going to get on you, where you at? Over there eating those little swirls back there with all that sugar in there. Yeah, I told you I was going to get you. But how many people in here eat ice cream? Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. How many of y'all? Bad. Heart disease. Very bad. So when Taj was up here talking about this, and I lost both of my parents to cancer. Actually, Taj was one of the bearers of my father, actually. When my father passed, how long? That was a while ago. He was a baby. He's 19 now. Yeah, it does. But when I'm doing my speaking and I talk to people, it's cool to talk about this, but if we're not going home and living it, it means nothing. And when you study really what cancer is, it's just a German word. It just means crab. It's a breakdown of your immune system, y'all. It's really acidic. And what happened when my father was dying from cancer, he kept, on the last day, he kept saying something was scratching his insides. I'm gonna let y'all marinate on that for a minute. He said something was scratching his insides as I'm sitting at his bedside. And he's telling me this, and I'm with my older brother. So as I'm talking to him, I'm the only vegetarian in my family out of 9 of us. So as he's telling me this, I'm telling my father it's looking for nutrients. So it's eating him, it's acid. Let's compare this for a minute. Acid on a battery to a car. Think about it. Mm-hmm. What happens when you have acid on a battery to a car? What do you have to do?
Clean it.
Clean it, right?
Yes.
Jump in with cables, right?
Yes,
Copper, right? Just think about it. Your body operates the same way. So as my father was passing, he kept saying every day, God, give me one more chance. I was the one who was saying, Dad, he gave it to you. You just ignored it. You see what I'm saying? I said this to him. And when I'm telling him the story about my iguanas, I had iguanas. They're all vegetarians. I don't know if y'all knew that or not, but they're vegetarians. So all my iguanas was dying because I kept feeding them a particular lettuce. Can anybody tell me what it is?
Iceberg.
Iceberg lettuce. Just think about it. And the reason why I'm doing this because my son is here. He was raised a vegetarian, but sometimes when you drift away and go back to people who eat these things or be around people, 9 times out of 10, you are who you be around. And we have nothing in there. So he's here, and he's about the youngest one in this room. So when my father was dying, I used the example of the iguanas, because they were dying. It's about 6 or 7 of them I had, and they were dying within a week. Think about it, a week. And when I took the iguanas to the place, I said, well, you're selling me a bad batch of iguanas. He said, no, brother, I'm not. He said, what are you feeding them? When you go to the hospital, what do they ask you?
What did you eat?
First thing you eat, last thing you eat, right?
That's right.
So whatever the last thing you ate is the thing that got you there. So as he's telling me this, he said, what did you feed the iguanas? I said, I don't know, it's the lettuce. They're vegetarians. I'm going in thinking I'm smart. Like, yo. He said, no, brother. It's acid, bro. He said it's eating them alive on the inside. So when you walk outside of our stores, I'm in Wilmington, I'm looking, and I'm in every state. I just got back from Houston, I'm watching. I'm in West Philly with you the other day, and I'm walking fresh groceries, and I'm like, man, the energy is here very low. I can't find nothing. That's why I came back with nothing. I'm looking at the yogurt. Can I eat the yogurt? No, I can't eat that. That's not good. So the dude buying 5 of them. And I wanted to say something to him, but I didn't want to preach in the market. But if you watch where we at in the markets that we go to, the energy is very low and it's very cheap. So if you look at the stores, the Chinese people, and watch what they sell our people. I had a Chinese lady tell me in Philadelphia, they give their animals in China MSG to kill them. This is when I was in Philly. This was over 15, 20 years ago. So I'm looking at what we eat every day, unconsciously. We eating these things. So I'm looking now at restaurants that we go to. Romaine lettuce is in Italian restaurants, right? Romaine lettuce, not iceberg. Romaine has nutrients in it.
That's right.
Olive oil inside of a restaurant, not canola oil, olive oil. But all that stuff was yours. But they flipped the script on you. Because olive oil is good for the digestive system. And that's why I was just showing Brother Taj the oil of oregano, which if you have a virus, that would knock out any virus that's in you. Oil of oregano is very strong. He just ran out the door. I just gave him a little bit. He said, not again. But it knocks out any virus that's in you. You have to get your physical before we try to do anything. So as my father was passing, he said he felt something scratching him. And I'm like sitting here like, yo, it's eating him up. And my father never took chemo, but he died home, but he never took it, but he still got thinner because it was eating his insides up. And I'm watching him because he still every day. Come on now, how many of y'all go to Dunkin' Donuts, dude? It's not a good place. Let's be real, how many of y'all go to Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
Krispy Kremes. Oh, now I know you don't. We know you ain't going there. We go to Krispy Kremes. It's like crack. But have you ever read the content of the sugar? 16 grams of sugar per what? Serving? Like really? You know how much sugar that is? And like he just said earlier, the sugar thrives. Cancer thrives off the sugar. This is what happens. It thrives. But all these things can be reversed. But we can't even think right if we're not even eating right. When I'm going with people, I'm around people, I'm giving them, no lie, I'm like a doctor on the road. I'm like, yo, and they be like, yo, I don't want to try that. Activated charcoal. Everybody should have it. Take out the poison in your body. All of this stuff is natural things. Like Ty said, I know what he's going through with his sister and his family. Because I went through with my family. Trying to tell them, yo, you don't, but they entrust this European. Everything that we're doing today, we trust what this European is saying. Even with this information now, what Taj is doing, I commend him highly. I walked away from this movement and I went a different route with what I'm doing now. I'm doing film. I'm not here. I live in LA. I just finished up a film and I have another documentary coming out. So more so we want to see things visually.
Yes.
And that's how they captivate you by vision. And if anybody will tell you about film, they will tell you to get you by vision. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. This is what this is right here. And we go directly and go buy it. That's why advertisements in football games and basketball games are so high and they hit them at them particular times. Because we're focused on that. I don't even watch basketball. Somebody was talking about a playoff game recently. I don't know what, I said, who won? I don't know. Because I don't watch basketball. Tell me about somebody taking your property. I can rap with you. You see what I'm saying? So my mind is not there on sports. It's about health. And I try to instill that now even with my son because he used to travel with me since he was born. Since he was born, he was traveling with me. And that's who I have to pass it down to him. Some people want to learn the hard way. Some people may get it by me talking to you. Even today, I came up here, I said, well, I'm going to make my way and be up here with Brother Taj. We have the UNIA tomorrow to show the film in Philadelphia. And anywhere, I always would tell Taj for years, wherever I go, I'm going to take you and expose you to more and more people. Because people need to know who you are. And I've never got off that beaten path. And every time I'm ready to, what do you tell me, Taj? What do you tell me when I say I'm ready to give up? And I keep the faith, but I don't believe in faith. You see, if I give up on the babies. But we have to start changing the way we even teach, y'all. I mean, I'm being real. We have to show people. When I go home, I have a pastor. The brother's really a deacon in the church. We working on a reality show about me going to his house. His wife agreed that we want to go to his house, and I'm gonna throw out everything in his house, and y'all gonna see it. Me clean his whole refrigerator out and start all over. And you're gonna see me working this brother out up 300 steps every weekend. This is what we do. I have a workout routine that we do, have sand dunes. We have steps that we will climb. I'm gonna walk him through this whole process and clean out everything in this refrigerator and put everything new in there. Even down to sometimes when we talk about the whole health thing, you know, oh, I'm not gonna eat this, or I'm gonna go do a detox, but we go right back again. Abundance knows that. How many times people say, I'm gonna detox and go right back eating the same thing again? It's not to go back to it. And y'all should do this one day, seriously. Before my mother passed away, I took a piece of margarine. You heard him talk about that earlier, right?
Yeah.
Take a piece of margarine. They don't lie to you. They say this is parquet, ain't butter. Remember the commercial? This is parquet, it ain't butter. So they telling you what it is. So what happened, I took a stick of margarine and set it on the roof, on the top of the roof in the backyard in the summertime. And I left it there and came back. What do you think happened to the margarine?
Still there.
No. What do you think happened? Think about it for a minute. No. No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Stay solid.
Oh, it got like glue.
It got like plastic.
Like plastic.
It melted from the heat. So it's plastic. Think about it. So imagine the margarine constantly in your body every day. And think about the restaurants we go into and you ask for margarine. You want margarine? It clogs the arteries. So when my mother passed now, I'm in the hospital arguing with the doctor, asking what causes it. The doctor said bad luck, and I didn't want to fight the doctor in the hospital because he said that. Because it was the plastic and the coloring and the dye over a period of time, hardening the arteries so they can't breathe.
Yeah.
That's what happened to her. But they don't tell our people this. They would never tell you this on CNN or Fox News. Why would they? So a lot of this plays a part. This is why we can't even sit here long enough to even comprehend this. This is why majority of the young cats, when I'm in rooms, I don't even like coming in rooms unless there's young people in there. I'm gonna keep it real with you. If I don't see one or two young people in that room, because I know one of those two is gonna get it. Because really, we're done.
Yeah.
It's the younger ones that you gotta look out for now. And that's what we have to go to. So even with films, even with movies and documentaries, they're coming to it slowly but surely. And I respect Minister Farrakhan for what he does and how he's relating to the youth. I don't know if y'all seen this lady, but it's like he have more youth coming to the nation than I have ever seen. And he's 83 years old. 83. So people, y'all, listen, a lot of this sounds good, but we have to be serious with this, man. We have to be serious, like Ty said. How many, you got people that's young with canes. Why are you walking with a cane? At 25, at 30. It's something that you're doing that's wrong. Everybody, y'all, we gotta really change it. That's why I was telling, I wanted to come here, but I didn't want to come to really do any lecture, but I wanted to say, look, I'm tired of the talking. I don't have time for the talking. I was supposed to have been on vacation coming back here to Philly, but I was in a law library for 2 days. Vacation, I guess that was my vacation. City Hall and Jeepers Law Library. Sitting there, recording while I'm live inside there, walking people through law and how this is and the language. So it's a lot, man. It's a lot of stuff that we have to work on. And we have to be serious, man, with it. We can't walk out this door and say, yeah, Todd was dope. But damn, I want that burger right there. You know, Taj was dope. He broke it down, brother. But that ice cream looked real good. It's calling me. You know, we gonna go right back on the same exact thing. My sister over here, my cousin just told me her food was slamming.
Yeah.
My cousin just sent his girlfriend here to Delaware to pick up a sandwich. I don't know what it was, but she came here from Philadelphia to here to pick up a sandwich to bring it back to him because he was at work. That's dedication. Think about it. And that's where I'm at with this right now. This is where I'm at right now with this. I don't want to be here speaking for hours, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, and you ain't getting it. You can speak for an hour and a half or 2 hours and get it. And just keep it moving. It's about being active, people. We have to be active in what we're doing, not feel-good sessions. But I'm going to be here just for a minute. I ain't want to take up that much time, but there was other stuff that I want to speak on. But I don't know if Brother Taj gave y'all the document. Huh? I don't know if Brother Taj gave y'all the document, but let me see that.